Hey, what's up everybody? Jukem here. Welcome to my hardcore Nuzlocke summary of Pokémon Black 2 using only Flying-type Pokémon. The Flying type is the Pokémon world's seasoning for types. Dashed onto any avian or floating Pokémon that possesses a primary type already, almost all Flying-type Pokémon have two types. Only Tornadus, Rookidee, and Corvisquire are able to boast about their pure Flying typing, but for Black 2 in particular, they're all unavailable. This does make Flying types very versatile. A Flying Pokémon is able to rely on their secondary type for strong stab attacks capable of fending off threats other flyers might struggle with, allowing for lots of coverage. It also helps that many Flying types have such varied stats, making them versatile in this way as well for team compositions. For this challenge, I will be using the rules shown here. Notably, I am utilizing Species Clause, Set Battle Mode, No Items in Battle, and level caps for the Gym Leader and Elite Four's strongest Pokemon. And for this high flying run, I will also be playing Black 2 on Challenge Mode. This grants many boss battles more Pokemon, better movesets, more held items, and higher levels. However, despite the upped levels, the Pokemon themselves have the same stats as they do in normal mode. A pretty big oversight I must say, but it means my Pokemon will technically have a level advantage with the level cap, but as my first monotype Nuzlocke, I thought this was fine for the purposes of my enjoyment. Two reasons in particular had me choose Challenge Mode, with the boss team changes being one, figuring this could balance out the level differences a bit. The second reason will appear shortly, but let me know your thoughts on a future run of this game on Easy Mode. That could pose a real threat levels-wise with unchanged stats. And as for the Pokemon available to me, these are all of our options. We have plenty of fine choices, but I should note that in Black 2, Braviary is unavailable. If you were to attempt this run in White 2, then Mandibuzz would be inaccessible, but luckily for us, every other Pokemon is still on the table. Anyway, let us kick off this Pokemon Black 2 Nuzlocke with only birds by my side. Our story begins in Aspertia City. Mom tries to convince me how hip and hop a Pokedex is when I could literally look up everything about the goat god on the internet, but I play along and say they're pretty cool. This leads us into meeting my favorite old rival, Bianca, who was tasked by Professor Juniper to gift me a Pokedex and Pokemon. However, these three grounded delinquents aren't in our list of encounters. I choose Snivy so that the Fire Lord over here has Tepig. After showing Zuko here that he needs to be stronger to regain his honor, we'll find our first eligible Pokemon on Route 20. This Pidove, that I named Tatsumaki, will be our only encounter for the first two gyms. Unevolved for both. It'll be tough. Maki here has big pecs for her ability, which will be useful for getting a free turn when the AI tries to use Leer in this normal type gym filled with dogs, rats, and other birds. So yeah, she'll be our only encounter versus Sharon's three Pokemon, but I bet it won't be as hard as it was finding her in the season with a 5% encounter rate. It was a very tedious experience, but I got my bird and will never have to do that again anyway. I make sure to EV train her in attack and speed via Wild Patrat and Purloin respectively. Let us hope for the best. With a cracked out Pigeon by our side, our first gym battle approaches. Sharon begins his white boy dance off with me, using a Patrat while I pray for Maki's success. We strike first with a quick attack that looks to be a 3-hit KO, but things immediately get scary as Patrat pops off with Workup. It was at this moment I realized Patrat doesn't even have Leer for Big Pecs to give me a freebie. Turn 1 of our first major battle could not have been more off-putting. Maki quick attacks once more on the following turn. Patrat then nails a Tackle, which did surprisingly less damage than I thought it would, but it's still a large amount taken for this early on. At the very least, we can simply quick attack one last time to finish the Patrat off. Thanks to the EXP, Maki levels up and is able to learn Air Cutter. This was the second reason for playing on Challenge Mode, since otherwise, Maki wouldn't have access to this attack due to lower level caps. You might say that's cap, but the level cap ends at the start of the battle for my rules. That was so bad! Either way, Maki is stronger, which will aid us in fending off Sharon's uncontrollable Pupper. I click Growl here, but to my surprise, Lillipup is faster than Maki as he uses Workup. I did not anticipate this. Lillipup has neutral attack again, so this begins a struggle of matching Workups with Growl. This goes on for a while, so we can skip it, but eventually, Lillipup breaks out the Tackle, doing decent damage. A held Oranberry means I only lost 3 HP though. This lets Maki lower his attack with Growl. On the next turn, Lillipup goes for a much weaker Tackle. Maki retaliates back with Air Cutter, which doesn't even do half. Granted, Lillipup's berry would heal him, but I was surprised how weak it was. Another Tackle on the next turn leaves us in the red as Air Cutter isn't able to clutch with his heightened crit chance, leaving Lillipup alive and not in range to a quick attack due to the berry. Though not like it really matters. Next turn, Lillipup finishes Maki off with a Bite, ending our run just like that. So anyway guys, rate my foreshadowing about having to go find another 5% Pidove. I thought it was terrible and obvious, but who knows, maybe I got someone. This time, however, I decide to, ironically, aim for a Super Luck Pidove. Along with Air Cutter's high crit rate, this is one of my better shots at taking down Sharon. I do end up finding 2 more Big Pex Pidove, but for all intents and purposes, this 4th Pidove is the true start of my 2nd attempt. Call it run 4 if you want, but whatever. For our rematch with Sharon, I especially make sure I have enough speed EVs to outspeed his Lillipup. The battle similarly begins almost exactly the same as last time, so we'll head straight to Lillipup. With Air Cutter in tow and higher speed, we strike fast and hard with an instant critical hit payoff that sends Lillipup close to the red, healing off with a berry afterward. He sets up a workup like before, so I'm happy switching to offense as opposed to defensive plays like Growl seems to be effective here. One more crit would net the KO, so we attempt another Air Cutter that unfortunately leaves Lillipup in the red. Maki in return has to take a tackle that would have easily knocked out with a crit, but I don't have the options to play around it, and I am also risking a 5% chance to miss with each Air Cutter use. Our Oranberry activates and Sharon then restores Lillipup's HP with a potion, but it's no use. Having not fully healed, this allows another critical Air Cutter to connect for the knockout. Sharon's own Pidove is his last Pokemon, and just like Sharon says, he's a wall we must overcome to be freed from this early game. Not much besides an Air Cutter can be done here. My good luck crits end here, which is scary with Pidove across the field setting up a workup. At this point, I have to go for an Air Cutter, but the one risky thing besides missing is Sharon's Pidove having Quick Attack and Super Luck like Maki. A 12.5% chance to reset again. Let's see what happens. It's like way too early to be doing this sort of dramatic stuff, but we don't get crit and finish off Sharon's Pidove with Air Cutter. This wins us badge numero uno. Good job with those crits, Maki, though Sharon might have gotten too excited over RNG. Yes, this is what Pokemon battles are meant to be, complete and utter luck. With that though, the early game is about to become a breeze. The type of breeze you just want to relax to. Because with the TM for workup given to us by Sharon, and return thanks to Bianca, our little pigeon will have an attack boosting move and a base 102 power stab normal type attack. Completely broken for this stage of the game, even for a Pidove. Making our way to Verbank City is easy, though I almost had a heart attack thinking this mandatory hiker trainer would have a rock and roller or something. Luckily, it was only another pupper that Maki had to decimate. Before we take on Roxy though, there are a few things I'd like to mention when it comes to preparation. Firstly, and secondly, I am not sure how anyone will believe me, but during EV training to maximize my attack, Maki somehow caught Pokérus? I did not know you could contract it from battles against foes, so this was very lucky. I also found this like 10 minutes later. Alright, stop giving me level 4s now. I know what I said before. Wait, you're telling me I got contracted Pokérus and found a shiny? Alright, a lot of people would meme and like kill this thing. I gotta catch it. I don't have the heart to do it. I don't have the heart to do it. What kind of vitamins is my Super Luck Pidove on? It's starting to affect me as well. I'm not complaining though, because Pokérus actually helped me get max attack before the level cap, and I don't know how to feel about that considering the chances. But it happened live on my Twitch, so I promise I ain't a liar just trying to cash in on like excitement and stuff. What I will do though is plug, because there is a link in the description for all of your Pokemon streaming needs, but also subscribe here, smile. And for the question of the day, let us keep it simple. What's your favorite Flying-type Pokemon? Mine is this dumb penguin called Delibird. It's a long story why, maybe I'll tell it someday during a Heart Gold or Soul Silver Nuzlocke, but let us begin our next gym battle against the toxic Roxy. Roxy is very scary, but with our new tools and upgrade stats, we can do this. We rock and roll out with Maki against her leading Coughing. I set up turn 1 with Workup, a la Sharon, which will help for a sweep, but we do take a very strong Venoshock that does over half. In normal mode, Coughing doesn't have Venoshock and would have made this setup easier. I decided to use Roost next, which we learned while grinding, but Coughing doing over half HP the prior turn means I'm at a net loss for each use of Roost, making it not useful at the moment. All of this means I have to attack Coughing with a +1 return instead of +2 like I was hoping. Even with damage calcs, I was a bit unsure, but I was worried for nothing as return clearly knocks out Coughing from full health. Roxy sends in Grimer now, which has much less special attack than Coughing. This allows me to heal up with Roost as Grimer uses Disable. I was expecting Poison Gas, which would have been nullified but the Pekka Berry we're equipped with. We don't need Roost for the rest of this fight, but we do need one more workup for the Whirlipede in the back. Grimer's Venoshock counterattack was weak enough to where a crit didn't kill, so this setup was super safe. On the next turn, we fire off another return on Grimer for another clean knockout. The Whirlipede comes through last, but thanks to the workups and level up, one final return puts Whirlipede into submission for the third clean knockout in a row. This allows us to obtain our second gym badge. And with 2 level ups by the end of the fight, Maki can finally evolve into Tranquil. Maki just keeps getting stronger, but now she won't have to be alone. After being forced into a side mode that I loved as a kid but would probably find a bit tedious in the present, we yoink Roxy's dad back to his duties so he can sail us toward Castelia. Upon arrival, the Team Plasma storyline has us enter the sewers. This is where we can get our next encounter, but Zuko over here with his forced double battles threaten the chances of catching anything until the storyline in the area is done. But using my natural affinity for avoiding people grants me access to Pokemon on the staircase, so I can find and capture a Zubat who we call Zahir. And after besting Plasma, we caught Narubat, the Naruto Woobat, in the Brelic Passage. I was tired and just wrote that out by accident and kinda just went with it. Since both bats rely on friendship for their evolutions, this means we can fully evolve Zahir into Golbat and then into Crobat. Meanwhile, Narubat evolves into Swoobat. These two will be helpful for Berg, and to make sure I can handle his Dwebble with Rock Blast, a super effective stab move to my flyers that can reach 125 base power with some luck, I gave Zahir max attack and defense. For Narubat, he got a mixture of special attack, speed, and defense, enough to where both could survive a non-crit 5-hit Rock Blast once. Anyway, we're all set for the match with this artist who will not block my way. Berg leads with his Dwebble while I decide to start with Narubat instead of Zahir. Despite being frailer, I had a risky idea. Also, I forgot to turn on battle animations after grinding EVs, so apologies for that. We start off the fight with a Heart Stamp in the hopes of flinching Dwebble as we break Sturdy. This unfortunately doesn't occur, and Dwebble decides he's gotta go fast with Rock Polish. On the next turn, we're still faster and strike with Air Cutter, which barely doesn't KO like I thought it would. He heals slightly due to his Citrus Berry, and this gives Dwebble the opportunity to Rock Polish once more. Now we're definitely slower, but here's where my risky plan comes through. We attack without a second thought, and Dwebble goes for Feint Attack? We take that easily to where a crit wouldn't kill, and we bring down Dwebble with another Air Cutter. Berg sends in Carablast next, but what happened here? Why did he use Feint Attack and not Rock Blast? Well, my idea was that the AI wouldn't notice Rock Blast hits more than once, and would simply compare the base 25 power of one hit with Dwebble's other options. With Swoobat's Dark Weakness, this made it even more likely to bait Feint Attack instead, as the AI is correct in that Feint Attack is stronger than just one hit of Rock Blast even with Stab. So I cheesed Berg's noodly brain and didn't have to worry about the rock attacking option to begin with. Either way, as you can probably tell by what is happening on screen right now, we're able to freely switch into Zahir to mop the floor with Berg's Carablast, leave Vanny, and Shelmet with wing attacks while taking minimal damage in return. A very easy and non-heartache inducing gym badge is a welcome change of pace. Thanks for badge 3, Berg. I'm excited to announce that with our third badge, we have plenty more encounters awaiting us in this vast sky. There really isn't anything notable in between them story or battling wise, minus having to play around Colress and his electric type attacks. Go figure, I will cry when I get to Elisa, both in witnessing her dazzling runway and as my birds get fried by her electrics. But anyway, on Route 4 we catch the static Mandibuzz and name her Wendy. This is where you would normally catch Braviary in White Tube, but I found the idea of weak armor nasty plot strats fun and cool to try out. We don't end up using Wendy like that, but she's still pretty defensive and useful for that. In the Desert Resort, we find a much better Psychic Flying type in the form of Swiftmaster the Sigilith. At Route 5, I caught an Emolga in the Rustling Grass who we call Venti. Catching Emolga here then secures Vespiquen at Lothlorn Forest. There is always the chance for male Combee normally, but Rustling Grass guarantees Vespiquen. But it's a 5% chance, and you all know how dire my odds are with 5% chances. There we go. Alright, now we just need Panpour. I'm gonna find literally every other Pokemon on this route except for the one I need. I'm so angry. And this next one is Panpour, the stream is ending. It didn't help that I got a million Emolga because apparently Static also attracts electric type Pokemon half the time and I was leading with Venti. Thought it was only Lightning Rod that did that, but immediately after realizing my mistake, we catch Aya the Vespiquen. Finally, with a full team, we head toward Elisa's gym. Her gym trainers actually pose somewhat of a problem due to paralysis and our weakness, but we managed to get through them with no losses. During the grind, Maki was able to evolve into Unpheasant right at the level cap. This is perfect, as she'll be the key to become the new sensation that'll sweep Elisa. The fight for the 4th gym badge starts up with Elisa leading Emolga, with Maki the Unpheasant ready to destroy the Flying Scroll with one extremely powerful return. This luckily doesn't trigger static. We have a cherry berry equipped just in case, but Elisa's Flappy also possesses static, meaning it's 100% safe to click return once again to reap the benefits of another OHKO. This then brings out Joltik, but this guy was a lot slower than I initially thought, letting Maki return again for another quick finish. But here comes the big threat, Elisa's signature Zebstrika. According to my counts, using the information from this trainer doc I have, this is barely clutching a one-hit knockout and Maki is faster. So with that, this allows tremendous it's faster. Wait a minute. This thing lied to me. But we thankfully survived despite Maki's terrible HP and special defense. Now Maki can defeat Zebstrika in a single attack. Oh no. Well, there's something terribly wrong with this picture. To explain, this doc states Zebstrika has 12 IVs across the board with a mild nature. With the damage roll Volt Switch did on Maki and for Zebstrika to be faster, this would have to be a plus speed nature and not minus special attack, but also not minus defense. With level 30 stats and 12 IVs, not only did Maki lose a speed tie, but only one of these 16 damage rolls leaves Zebstrika standing. On the bright side, there wasn't a range for Maki to die unless it crit, but now we're in a pickle. I got rid of Quick Attack when prepping for Berg, though the Citrus Berry healing Zebstrika makes it not likely it even do enough. Challenge mode gets rid of Zebstrika's own Quick Attack luckily, but she still has Pursuit. In the moment, I didn't know it was a speed tie, but who knows if the IVs were wrong too on the dock. I have to switch out and pray Maki doesn't get pursued. And I am happy to report that she returns to my side safely. Venti gets sent in for the potential Volt Switch, but Zebstrika decides to Stomp, which activates Venti's own static. This is plot armor if I've ever seen it. We then switch again without worry of another pursuit, bringing out Swiftmaster on a Volt Switch. No crit, so now a single Psybeam is enough to take down Zebstrika, beating Elisa for our 4th gym badge. And to celebrate my objectively almost flawless planning, if not for the wrong trainer doc information, she puts a PNG of myself that she has for some reason on the big screen and walks down the runway with me to bring me out of my depression. Anyway, after a rotation battle, glad this is easier than triple battles, we arrive at Driftvale. But along the way, we catch Storm, the ducklet that is approaching, at Driftvale Bridge, which for some reason people compare it to Charizard, the most recognizable Unovan Pokemon of all time. However, everyone please have your eyes on Storm, the now Swanna, who will be our ace in the hole for dealing with Clay's ground types, many of whom have rock coverage. As Clay sends out his Krokorok, it's a good time to mention that I overleveled Swiftmaster the Sigilith, which should be fine as long as everything goes to plan. I send out Storm and try to set up a Rain Dance, but Krokorok goes for Sandstorm to ruin it straight away. On the next turn, I bring back the Rain. Krokorok just goes for Crunch, as it's the only one of Clay's Pokemon without a rock attack. Storm withstands it somewhat well, but now she is the one commanding the weather to her will, allowing her to take Krokorok down with a rain-boosted Bubble Beam. Clay's Onix appears next, who wouldn't be a threat if he didn't have Sturdy. If Rain is away, Excadrill can possibly survive a Bubble Beam, so I need to break Sturdy with a weaker attack so Clay doesn't heal and waste Rain turns. But I did feel uncomfortable here and decided to Roost anyway. In a worst case scenario, I can Roost Stall to lose my Flying typing to PP Stall Rock Slide, then Rain Dance again. However, Onix uses Rock Polish in response. This is a huge issue, since if he's faster, I can't abuse the PP stalling strat. I figured I would be faster the turn after to land Air Slash, but I clearly forgot Onix actually possesses decent speed, so Storm takes just less than half from Rock Slide. We don't flinch though, and break through Sturdy. At this point, I am confuzzled, but I switch to Zahir on a Rock Slide that he takes very well. Even at +2 speed, Zahir is faster and uses Confuse Ray, hoping I can buy a few turns. This immediately pays off because Zahir decided it would be very embarrassing for me to lose a Pokemon to Onix. Next turn, we were speed tied apparently, but another self-hit into a critical hit, Fly on the next turn are enough to beat Onix. But then Clay's Sandslash comes out next, and here's where I look myself in the bathroom mirror, crying. A stronger rock sliding Pokemon is facing me down, and we have no other way to set up Rain again safely. We're in the situation of all time.
Oh, that's real nice.
So it's time for a good old PP stall after dealing some damage to him. For Rock Slides, I managed to do so with the aid of Maki, who took it at +1 on the Switch. Then cue me mashing the Roost button a million times. Maki was a champ here, but now we have Crush Claw to deal with. It's strong, and has the chance to lower defense to ruin other Roost stalling strats I had. But through some luck of knocking in crit and few defense drops, my team ravaged to the depths of the distortion world and back, somehow survived the onslaught with no perishing Pokemon. With Storm back on her rightful place against a threatless Sandslash using Bulldoze, we blessed the rains down in Unova before blowing bubbles containing the power of the entire world's nuclear weapons to obliterate the Sandslash. Thanks, Clay, for throwing a bit by only setting up one Hone Claws. I've been here for a while, so I'm glad this finally leads to X-Control. But one more Bubble Beam for the guaranteed OHKO nets us a not-so-glorious W for the 5th Gym Badge. Maki and Storm are the MVPs here, but everyone else was able to hang on for a deathless Clay. As we prepared to reach Mistralton by being one with my people in a fighting game tournament and stopping the Yarhar pirates, we quickly make it through Charstone Cave. We don't have any evolutions, nor are there any new encounters until after Skyla's defeat. And because I'm feeling confident, since the game seemingly won't let any of my Pokemon die, I'm prepared to try and force some chaos by not coming in at the level cap. With the team all starved of EXP, we begin this gym battle with Skyla Swoobat versus Venti, who will hopefully do more than just be a damage sponge like the last two gyms. Swoobat moves first to my surprise, nailing an attack to infatuate Venti. Let me know if this is lore accurate, Genshin fans, because Venti sure is smitten with this baddie girl. I swap out the Wendy on a Psychic we're immune to, before tanking an Acrobatics on the following turn. This activates our weak armor, so we'll be slightly faster at the cost of our defense. Wendy then starts with a feint attack that does over half. Skyla then states that this battle is making her feel like she's walking on air, which is ironic considering you literally walk on wind at Victory Road. I'm glad you don't have that technology, Miss Fires Children from Cannons, you insane person. But at the very least, Wendy is free flying with this second feint attack. Thanks to the speed boost, we don't take any damage again and are now able to feint Swoobat. Skyla brings out her Ace Swanna a bit earlier than I expected. Since Swanna doesn't have physical moves, I take the opportunity to use Pluck to deal some damage, as well as yoink her Citrus Berry to heal all the way back up to full. Swanna retaliates with Feather Dance to lower Wendy's attack, so that's annoying. I switch to Storm knowing I won't deal lasting damage, and I'm right since she just uses Roost instead to heal back up to full. After Swanna wastes time with Feather Dance, Storm is able to attack her competition with Air Slash, dealing just shy of half. I'm expecting another Roost, so I switch back to Venti, but she does Air Slash instead for minimal damage. Leftovers heals a bit as well, but now I'm afraid of Bubble Beam and being slower, so I switch back into Storm, but it seems my caution was meaningless since she just uses Feather Dance again. Afterward, Swanna strikes with Air Slash, which not only would have killed Storm if it crit, but it flinches for true despair inducement. I was not expecting this much damage, so guess what? We're switching once more, this time to Swiftmaster. He takes less than half from Air Slash, meaning a Surf will definitely kill. Also, I'm not gonna lie, I am watching myself in this VOD while writing this and I have no idea what I'm doing either, so please bear with me. Wendy comes in on a Surf and takes less than half. While another Surf is a bit unhealthy, we take the opportunity to call forth a Tailwind. The stars align from my magnificent planning because during the switch back to Venti, Skyla finally decides to Roost the full. But Venti has a very disgustingly broken move in Encore, locking Swanna into Roost. This was funnily part of the original plan I had when I went into Venti the first time thinking she would Roost, before realizing after taking Air Slash that I might be slower and needed Tailwind, so it's nice I was given this chance. At least that's what I'm surmising from watching this VOD. I think I was just stupid. I am now more mentally comfortable with firing off a Volt Switch, which one-shots Swanna. Didn't need Encore, but it's better to be safer than sorry. I unleash Maki while Skyla summons her Sigilith. We hit a return that deals around 3/4 of damage. That was yet another unexpected turn of events, with Sigilith hitting a hard Psychic that would have crit KO'd. I am being reckless here, but this game loves me and won't ever punish me with a crit. The next turn, we just return once again to defeat Sigilith. Skyla brings out her last Pokemon in Skarmory. This thing's Steel, Flying, and Bug moves are walled by a switched-in Venti, who, after a few turns, whittles Skarmory down to the red with a Volt Switch that I, once again, misjudged. So we unlock the Zahir cameo before going back to Venti, and for real, finishing Skarmory off even after an attempted Hyper Potion. This jumbly mess of a gym battle is once again deathless, gaining us the 6th Unovan gym badge from Skyla. And thanks to the trials and tribulations of realizing I need a baby level cap for the half of my team that I'm too lazy to EV train, I can choose to continue ignoring that a bit longer thanks to the broken Acrobatics TM received here. This playthrough has been great since my previous runs had at least one death pretty early on, and while I accepted the fact that I could lose someone at the most inopportune time, I realized that I made it to the part of the game with a ton of great flying type options. The outside of Reversal Mountain gives us the lovable and carryable Skarmory, who we name Jet. At Undella Bay, we're able to catch a Mantine called Revali. At Route 14, Swiftmaster dies to a discharge crit. And at... wait a second. No! I had the right idea, too! Route 14 was where I wanted to catch Drifloon before Pelipper above Undella, but I wished to avoid the grass above Ace Trainer Kip here. Laziness took over, so instead of rappelling up, I do the equivalent of a gamer refusing to wear deodorant and meeting up with someone with bare minimum standards. Kip didn't appreciate the smell, so he challenged me to a rotation battle, and that eventually resulted in his electric type that we have so little options for dealing with to strike Swiftmaster down with this lovely crit. At least Bianca didn't screw me over at all during the Reversal Mountain segment. Happy thoughts only. And actually now, the path is fully cleared for me to hopefully find Drifloon before a potential Swablu. And I do! Let's catch this thing before another... This also means I lost Swiftmaster for nothing, but let's not talk about that. Happy thoughts only. We have another shot to catch Drifblim on Route 15, but Pelipper is more likely. So, of course I found Pelipper, which is a good Pokemon, don't get me wrong, but we can get it elsewhere. Drifblim though, we can't. So no Balloony for this playthrough, but we do welcome Balloony, the Pelipper. He will fight in Drifblim's honor. Happy thoughts only. Following a brief synopsis on the origins of Kyurem comes the difficulty spike of these games, with lots of boss battles that have threats to our Ballad of Birds. I take the opportunity to run in caves to acquire gems and shards for the future. We also encounter a Gligar on Route 11. We call her Kagura, but for now she's sitting in the box. Now, while I've thought of a decent plan to handle Drayden, I can only feel so prepared in a challenge like this. I would call this the prelude of the scariest fights we'll face in the future. So let's challenge this Dragon Master and catch our breath in these high-speed winds. Drayden kicks off the battle with Druddigon as we lead with Balloony. I came into this battle pre-damaged so that I may utilize Roost on turn 1. This is important as we lose our flying typing for the incoming Rock Slide for less damage, with Leftovers recovery aiding in this PP stall. Then we go for Protect, which defends us against an odd Revenge for some reason, and then on the following turns we repeat this, roosting and protecting over and over to get rid of Rock Slide as an option. But Drayden mixes it up with Dragon Tail eventually to mess with my plan. I'm not sure why he isn't spamming Rock Slides, but now life is difficult. How do we switch back safely into Balloony? Well, I bet that revenge is coming since Drayden is weird, which backfires as Rock Slide nails Balloony, but we survive a non-crit. Cue more turns of stalling Rock Slide. Another Dragon Tail eventually happens, bringing out Sahir, but his defense EVs make me confident that I'm safe to a crit Rock Slide, so we strike with Confuse Ray to make the switch back a little more safe, which does pay off right away. And while he doesn't hit himself when I swap back, he has made the calculated decision that a 4 times resisted fighting type move was to play against a Crobat. Random AI is much scarier than smart AI if I'm going to be honest. That was one bad crit Rock Slide away from losing someone, but we are unpunished, except here where it did crit after roosting, Lamau. In the end, I get Druddigon to lose his Rock Slide PP fully, and whittle it down to activate his Citrus Berry with Surf. Revenge exists this turn, I guess, but all you need to know about the following turn to save time is that we safely bring out Jet and finish Druddigon off with a Steel Gem boosted Iron Head. Why we had to do that is that Flygon and Haxorus ruined this upcoming strategy with Dragon Tail, so Jet has to finish Druddigon off to bait out Altaria due to his Fire Blast. He doesn't have Dragon Tail, making it safe to switch to our sweeper, Revali. Altaria simply surrounds itself in cotton, but that will be of no use here. We become fast as heck boy with agility as Altaria seals his fate by not using Sing. Then on the next turn, we set up Hail as Revali tanks a Dragon Pulse. With everything working out perfectly, my fast fish lad is able to outspeed and Blizzard Altaria for the knockout. A Chesterberry was equipped to Revali, so 2 Sings would have had to land to be an issue. However, since we succeeded in the setup, this means that Drayden's Flygon and Haxorus are also not an issue, defeating them with 2 more Blizzards, breeding over Drayden's Dragons, and securing the 7th Gym Badge. That could have been bad at the start because of Dragon Tail. Just an issue of skill though if you still have to rely on a crit Rock Slide for a chance of victory, Drayden. Glad we can cool off for now after that hailstorm. Until Zinzolin here decides that I must chill out with his fast and powerful Cryogonal. I was not expecting this fight to be an issue, but as you can see with your eyeballs that hopefully aren't as haunting and unending as Cryogonals, my team seems to have an issue against special attacking ice moves. Some confusion here, freezing my Kite Manta Ray there, and now I am approaching this Snowflake with Storm after Balloony's attempts at stalling Ice Beam fail. Using Roost to force Ice Beam to not be very effective and hoping for a lack of a freeze was my only play, along with getting lucky from confusion. Cryogonal eventually runs out of Ice Beams, and Storm is able to come through with 2 Surfs to put a stop to this nightmare. But then Zinzolin just brings out his second Cryogonal. I decided it's for the best to just risk the crit and surf here for some damage. And then Storm lands her own critical hit for the anticlimactic finish of the Snowflake duo. Some force of nature is out here toying with my emotions all run, but this was the peak of an emotional roller coaster. At least the Weavile gets walled with ease by Jet and we beat Zinzolin. What wasn't easy though was the realization that to evolve Kagura the Gligar with a Razor Fang, I'd have to wait until after Ghetsis' defeat. But I'd feel more comfortable with a Gliscor for fending off Colress, Kyurem, and Ghetsis himself. The only other way to get that item is through the battle subway. How I handled this was that a Pokemon fainting in here would be a real death for the run, but you are able to forfeit the battle, which I did allow since it's not a traditional wipe. Forfeiting the battle is for when I just cannot beat a Pokemon and I know I can, so if I do know ahead of time that I'm not going to be able to win the battle without possibly losing someone, I will just quit. The Pokemon in the subway seem to be EV trained, so while I always reset after the first 7 battles so that they remain unevolved, this will be rough. I relied on Jet for defense, Kagura to handle electrics, and Zahir for powerful, fast flying attacks, but in the end, we could not avoid a death. It's unfortunate. And in hindsight from doing more battles, Revali was the better choice overall. You helped us whenever you could, Zahir. I wish you a comfortable ride along the wind to the afterlight. Say hi to Swift for me. His sacrifice won't ruin Kagura's potential to take up the mantle of the Bat of the team. So mission success? We also got some TMs at the subway, but Kagura won't be making her debut until after Marlin's gym. Another toughie to crack. We instead need to reintroduce some of our old companions we haven't used in a while to beat him. And with access to Humilao, we have available to us the Roost move tutor for even greater defensive plays in the future. Beginning our last battle versus Marlin, the Himbo sends out his Whale as Jet flies through. We set up Spike's turn 1 to ruin Caracosta's Sturdy in the back, as Wailord just uses Rain Dance. This is where we unleash our surprise move in Sunny Day to overwrite the rain. This is the second time I've used Sunny Day Skarmory. What is this heat-loving bird? Has to be worse than being in a hot car, and also worse compared to this weak Scald. I switch into Venti on another Rain Dance, which is annoying to say the least. Marlin's Mantine has Swift Swim to outspeed everything I have, so the greatest option I have is to wait for the perfect moment where rain is gone to knock Wailord out. To aid in wasting time, we Encore Wailord into Rain Dance. Afterward, it's a switch back to Jet, but after this turn, Encore ends. I misjudged how many turns it would last, but it's fine as we reset the Sunny Day and tank a Scald. Then we roost back up to full and take a not very effective Ice Beam in return. The next turns involve more stalling and waiting for Wailord to waste his Rain Dances that we counteract with Sunny Day, looking for the moment that rain will go away. The AI won't work with me here though, so after setting up more spikes, I switch to Aya, who has a great purpose for handling Wailord's power. Captivate, and worst case scenario, get crit and die. She is faster and also possesses Sunny Day in the off chance Rain Dance occurs. Aya takes an Ice Beam and for sure could take another non-crit one after Captivate to harshly lower Wailord's special attack. And it crit me. That was Aya's one shot of survival. You beautiful, beautiful beast. Her one chance at not playing a sandbag did not come to fruition though. I love you Vespiquen, but you aren't too good, so I don't feel too emotional and just send in Jet to set the sun back up on a Scald. I'm still scouting at this point to see if Marlin just refuses to Rain Dance again, and it seems he isn't. I don't know how Gen 5 handles its AI, but it's pretty whack. Aya was needlessly sacrificed if I knew this ahead of time, since I can now Toxic and wait for Wailord to be at low enough HP for Venti to be able to finish him off. Wailord has run out of Ice Beam PP at this point too, meaning Venti can easily withstand the Scald in the sun. A Hyper Potion isn't able to fully heal Wailord, so a single discharge is enough to bring down the Titanic Whale. And just like with Drayden, the main threat to my sweep is no longer in the world, granting Venti a path to electric attack Marlin's remaining 3 Pokemon of Mantine, Caracosta, and Jellicent for easy knockouts. Well, okay, I misjudged Volt Switch here on Jellicent, but Revali is able to wall Jellicent and Toxic Stall for a very anticlimactic finish of obtaining the final gym badge of the Unova region. Great teamwork, and Aya, apologies for you being the one to take the fall. I know I have a habit of worrying about one specific Pokemon for ruining a single sweeping strat, and while they do tend to succeed anyway, it's always important to have backup measures to minimize casualties. You could think of Aya as a backup to sack something I won't ever use. However, I I didn't utilize her like that, and instead threw her away to add another to the death toll. It's rough, but let's move on. We have Team Plasma to take down. As we meet Fu the Delibird on Route 22, who we promptly stuff into the PC, sorry buddy, we hop aboard Team Plasma's airship, where Zinzolin awaits for a rematch. Luckily, I had an idea to take him out relatively easily. In both the double battle and single battle close after, Maki is quick and strong enough to break these snowflakes on their much weaker physical defensive side. And like before, Jet handles his Weavile easily since he only has Ice Shard for ice coverage. With that out of the way, now we enter Colress. The first fight for him had unevolved Pokemon, while the second had his Pokemon super low leveled, but this one for my flying types could be a doozy. However, we have a Kagura. The new leader of Team Plasma makes his final stand by leading an Eviolite Magneton. We start with Jet, who is safe here since his Magneton is sturdy and not Magnet Pull. Magneton's only electric move is Volt Switch, and our own sturdy allows us to live, so I set up a Spikes in the back as they only Thunder Wave Jet. The idea here is that when they come back in after Volt Switch, their sturdy will break. This works against Colress's Magnezone too. However, when Volt Switch struck the next turn, I was not expecting Klinklang. Like an idiot, I healed up with Roost instead of attacking Klinklang to pop their air balloon. That was probably the safest bet I had for this battle since I wasn't planning on using Jet in the near future. While I can bring in Kagura on a Thunderbolt the following turn, I have to waste a turn just to pop the air balloon. We use X-Scissor for that, but now Klinklang is getting scary with Shift Gear to gain higher attack and speed. I look out for a bit though, with Colress going for Shift Gear again as we begin to dig. Shoutouts to Earthquake for being post-game, this is really not helping my case here. Didn't know that before this run, so after Klinklang sets up a third Shift Gear, Dig just barely doesn't clutch the KO. Knowing that Colress will heal this turn though, we dig once again to take Klinklang down to the low yellow. Doing so allows me to discover that Giga Impact is the move of choice when Kagura is underground. I assume it's the same logic with Gear Grind as it was with Berg's Dwebble and Rock Blast way back. Thinking on the fly, we switch to Jet, who tanks that +3 Giga Impact like a champ. More importantly, the equipped Rocky Helmet puts Klinklang in the red. This means on their recharge turn, I'm able to freely swap to Maki. Then I can knock out the physical representation of the gears grinding in my brain with a priority quick attack. Handle that pretty well if I do say so myself. Next up is Magnezone. They'll receive Spikes damage, and I know Discharge is their play, letting Kagura come back in for free. We then have the opportunity to dig next turn to avoid a Flash Cannon and cleanly KO Magnezone. Matang is up next, but Kagura has great physical defense. She can take any attack this thing can throw at us. We Swords Dance to play safe for the rest of Colress's team. Matang quickens with agility, but Kagura is still too quick for them and prepares to dig on the following turn. A +2 dig is then able to take out Matang. With the Swords Dance up, X-Scissor is more than enough to knock out Colress's brought out Behem. Then it's a final dig to KO Magneton after Spikes damage for a somewhat grimy but still clean win against Colress. But we know how this chilling tale of Unova ends. A battle against Kyurem and Ghetsis back to back, with lots of dangerous threats that construct a narrative for Ghetsis that we stand a sub-zero chance of victory. However, I disagree. Pokémon Black is our first problem. Their Terravolt ability threatens to ignore Sturdy, meaning we are unable to rely on Jet to take a Fusion Bolt, but Kagura has a few tricks up her sleeve, in no small thanks to the fact that Kyurem is a wild Pokemon and is seemingly choosing moves at random. It's fairly easy to constantly attack with X-Scissors as Kagura takes slashes and stays healthy with Roost. Any 2-turn free shocks are then thwarted by Dig, and while Dragon Breath could paralyze, we dodge the chances and strike down Kyurem quickly. I risked paralysis a bit there, so it wasn't the most foolproof plan. In hindsight, coming into the battle pre-poisoned would have been the 300 IQ play, but let's not grow worrisome about alternate timelines. We're fighting in the here and now versus Team Plasma's Ghetsis. He starts with Cofagrigus while Kagura wishes for more blood to be spilled in honor of Zahir. Not yet, Girl Queen. We're swapping the Jet on an attempted Protect. To aid Kagura later on, we'll be laying down 3 layers of spikes, with Cofagrigus doing very little to retaliate. I then Toxic Cofagrigus. We are performing a similar strat as we had with Drayden to bait in a Pokemon that Jet is weak to. In this case, Electros. This goes on for a bit, with Maki cameos to absorb Shadow Balls, many Roosts, and a full restore so we can go on this adventure once again, him and I. Let's skip it, as usual. We finished Kafagrigus off with no issues and have Jet come out, which does bait in Electros. We then swap to Kagura, who laughs in the face of this Eel's Thunderbolt. This turn is the start of my new favorite plan, Swords Dance Sweeps. Kagura does get hit by a mild flamethrower, but we can recover through Roost, and we're equipped with a Rost Berry in the off chance of a burn. It's not 100% guaranteed to get this going, but 2 10% burns would be absurd. You may think I am setting up a joke for my inevitable downfall, but I'm not. We don't get burned once, with Electros even going for acrobatics at points. Buddy, your win con is not this. So yeah, no burns at all, Kagura is at +6 and is ready to kill. First is this Electros, who goes down to a single X-Scissor. Then comes Seismitoad, another non-issue. Funny story, even if he used Earthquake while Kagura was underground with Dig, she wouldn't be affected. My imagination shows a giant bat scorpion slightly hovering above the ground in the hole she's digging to somehow avoid the ground's erratic shaking. It doesn't really make sense, but anyway, the rest of Guess' team is also completely free. Down goes Hydreigon, Toxicrug, who we baited Sucker Punch from to roost back up to full, nice, and finally, Dropion. A bit cheap to use these setup strats. I definitely want to get better at Nuzlocke without relying on them in future runs, but for my first monotype, I say they're fair game. And after inflicting psychic damage to the world's worst father to save End's dragon, oh right, that was the plot, we are able to travel through Victory Road to make it to the Pokemon League. Along the way, we capture our final encounter of the challenge in Vento the Altaria. Some battles here were more thrilling and scary than others, but we overall managed the dungeon without major issues. Until Zuko showed up at the very end. Now, I've skipped every rival fight so far due to nothing of interest occurring, and while I won't summarize the whole fight, allow me to showcase to you all the complete idiocy of my strategy and backup strategies here at Victory Road. I just realized I can't hit this on Pheasant. I am not the smartest person, oh my god. How did I, oh my god, wait a minute, I'm stupid. How did I not think of that? Please hit the Toxic. Oh, thank you, okay. Now we can take it out while setting up a Gliscor. He doesn't go for it! Oh my god, he did crit. Oh wait, no he has, oh my god, I forgot, Facade. Oh wait a minute, I'm stupid, I'm double stupid. Everything in the back of Zuko's team is scary, especially Simipour, but we somehow win the battle with 0 deaths. All thanks to my quick thinking after my quick thinking was disastrous. The quick thinking was stalling Simipour's Rock Slide. We've certainly been doing that move specifically a lot today, or at least it feels like it. This was a wake-up call to plan things over in my head 5 times at minimum, because you should all know by now that while I have an embarrassingly deep knowledge of Pokemon, I tend to get carried away and not think everything through, or just miss the obvious. That whole speech I made after Marlin really didn't prove I learned anything, but learning can be slow for some in high-tense situations such as these. Except having only a ground attack against the flying-type lead, let's ignore that. We're at the Pokemon League, and in preparation, I obviously get a bunch of stuff I think I might need and EV train anyone who hasn't been already that I plan on bringing. Before the Elite Four, I'd like to talk in depth about the team I've crafted. First up is Maki. While she had not been entirely useful near the end of the game, I decided to have her tag along for a few reasons. 1. The rest of my team can ideally handle the whole Elite Four and Champion, so I have a free slot. Having a backup measure in the form of normal gem boosted returns or priority quick attacks may come in handy if things don't go as planned. Mostly though, the early game and beyond made me grow very attached to this Unpheasant, hence the short and cute nickname of Maki I've used throughout the video. The female design is very unpopular for many, but Maki came in clutch many times, such as when facing off with Zinzolin, and I've warmed up to it, so she's earned her spot for a chance at the Hall of Fame. Next up is Wendy. She has had almost no screen time in major battles until now, and wasn't on the team for too long before the water flying types took over. However, she will be very useful in fending off Chantal, so if there's a time for her to shine, it's now. Jet has been our ace in the hole for so long during the end game. He's a fantastic Pokemon all around, but Jet won't be doing much if my plans work out. He is still very crucial for victory and is a mon I can rely on in many scary situations. Revali won't be playing his role until we get to the champion, but I will say that I knew how strong Mantine was, but I wasn't expecting it to be this fantastic in this playthrough. These summary videos really don't do him justice, but any special attack he could take and then just attack back fairly strong with his water stab. Mantine doesn't even get roost in this game, yet Revali was able to help out a ton nonetheless. Now Kagura is a very obvious pick to take along. She has been the late game goddess, and that will continue into many of the Elite Four battles. I bet Zahir is glad to have you as his heir, Kagura. And last up is our newcomer, Invento. Just like Revali, he won't make his mark on the world until the champion, but the role he plays is everything we need to take Iris down. Didn't know you for long, Angel, so let's see you put in the work. That's the team. Let us soar the skies to reach the highest plains of victory. With Gen 5 allowing us to pick our Elite 4 order, I decided to go with the easiest for my team first in Marshall and his fighting types. The type advantage might seem obvious, but many of his Pokemon have rock moves, including his sturdy Sawk. Marshall begins with Throw, and I throw the Pokemon who won't throw me the match, Jet. To deal with Sawk's sturdy, I set up 1 layer spikes as Throw simply uses Rock Tomb for speed control. With that done, Jet's job is complete, and we send in Kagura. It's Swords Dance time. It's free, it's powerful, and it's the only thing I could think of to get through this fight risk-free. And it's also a long process. Rock Tomb would normally cause issues for outspeeding in the future, but thanks to Kagura's Rock Polish, we are capable of reversing the speed drops to ensure we are quicker than the rest of Marshall's team. None of Throw's attacks deal much damage too, so after roosting up to a comfortable amount of health after Throw's attempts at success, along with +6 attack, we acrobatics Throw for the overkill. As Kagura goes for everyone's jugulars, let me just appreciate all of you for making it this far in the video, despite my stupidity. It's a bit embarrassing to have everyone see, but it's also fun to display. Seeing everyone's reactions to the ridiculous situations I put myself in makes the effort to make these videos worth it, so honestly thank you. But not to ruin the warm moment I just made, but also thank you to Kagura for the clean knockouts to defeat Marshall. I decide to battle Caitlyn next. She sends out a somewhat problematic Musharna first as we lead Kagura. I say problematic in that she has Hypnosis. Kagura has a Chesto Berry just in case, but 2 Swords Dances would make me more comfortable than 1, so I'm hoping for the first turn miss. Unfortunately, that is not the case, so we'll just be at +2 and attack to risk another Hypnosis landing. Musharna is a bulky Pokemon, so let's see if Kagura gets the OHKO with Acrobatics. And it's a success! Fun fact, by the way, Acrobatics with Stab is slightly stronger than a super effective X-Scissor here, which is great. Caitlyn then sends out Sigilus, who has Ice Beam. I know I'm for sure faster, but I can't help but feel nervous attacking here. Kagura thankfully saves me from a hurting heart pressing the Acrobatics button. The rest of Caitlyn's Psychics then drop like flies. Acrobatics is able to swat away Ryu, Nicholas, and Gothitelle while we dig the cover for her mighty Metagross. A bit more brainpower put into this one than Marshall, ironic, but it was still a simple and clean victory either way. We now face gambling addiction man Grimsley and his dark types. He begins with his Liepard as Maki makes a Stanley cameo. She is here to protect on Liepard's fake out, preventing her normal gem from going off, which would activate on Burden. It wasn't entirely necessary to do that, but it's a safe play as Night Slash does basically nothing on the switch to the real star of the show, Kagura. You probably get the picture by now. I will say that this is the last Kagura sweep of the run. As we set up Swords Dance and watch Grimsley lose Pokemon after Pokemon, I would like to shift attention to something I love about Gen 5 with its gym leaders and Elite 4. Every single one of them has an occupation outside their battling duties, and this is shown through their area's design and their actions and dialogue. Sharon's a teacher, Clay runs a mine, and if you count gambling as an occupation in Grimsley's case, that works too, etc. And then Caitlyn was just kind of born rich. Yeah, sure. Everyone's working hard at their jobs, along with their gym leader or Elite 4 duties, and she's just sleeping her life away 24/7 in her fancy Gucci bed until a challenger appears. At least she seems nice and isn't a psychopath. Oh, and that's Grimsley defeated. Apologies, my good sir. See you in Alola someday. The final hurdle of the Elite 4 is the book writer Chantal. Her ghostly Pokemon are the only ones that won't be swept safely by Kagura due to her choice scarf Chandelure, but her lead Cofagrigus can effortlessly be walled by Wendy the Mandibuzz. But this wall has some sweet potential in her blood, utilizing Nasty Plot turn 1 for that sharp boost to her special attack, only receiving a burn from Will-O-Wisp afterward. We Nasty Plot up again to reach +4 special attack, with Wendy taking a weak Shadow Ball in return. We then roost to play safe, but this Cofagrigus isn't able to do any lasting damage, so on the next turn, I use Tailwind to double Wendy's speed. If Chandelure comes out while it's up, we can outspeed and take it out before it does anything crazy. Revali is a backup in case she doesn't, but for now, a single Dark Pulse is powerful enough to rebury this sarcophagus. Chantal sends in Drifblim next, but she is outsped and one-shot by another Dark Pulse. Just in the nick of time for Tailwind, here comes the Scarfed Shandy. She can't do anything as Wendy spreads her dark energy once again. The biggest warrior of the battle has been defeated, meaning that the upcoming Golurk isn't a problem either and is ground to dust by yet another Dark Pulse. Last up is Bayonet. She stands no chance, falling to a single Dark Pulse. I did take notice that her physical attacks would activate Wendy's weak armor, so if Tailwind went away with Bayonet out and Shandy still kicking, I'd be able to abuse that to get the speed buffs I needed anyway to outspeed. Either way, Chantal is defeated, and that's the end of the Elite 4 battles. Deathless so far, but we know how hard the champions can be in certain games, and Iris is no exception, with many intimidating dragons and other Pokemon by her side. We can do this though. We'll make her a sore loser by the end of this Flying-type final battle. Champion Iris unleashes her Ravenous Hydreigon to start out. We square up with an even more ravenous lead in the form of Jet. He's actually here for just one thing. 1 layer spikes. Just one. because Focus Sash Haxorus scares me. Jet, of course, would survive anything, even a crit Fire Blast, thanks to Sturdy. But to keep the Deathless Run alive, I did attach a Rossberry for the chance of a burn at low HP. And since we're stalling Fire Blast specifically for what I have planned, we protect a turn to waste 1 more PP of it. We then switch to Revali, who tanks a Focus Blast on the switch, thankfully with no special defense drop. And well, it's a bit lame, but we need to get rid of everything except Hydreigon Surfs for the best chances of a sweep. At minimum, I prefer Dragon Pulse specifically gone, but many Focus Blast special defense drops and Fire Blast burns could be a threat to our sweeper, so we'll stall for those too. We do this via a moveset consisting of Agility, Protect, Aqua Ring, and Rest, along with leftovers equipped. Aqua Ring and Rest are self-explanatory. Protect is for more PP stalls while gaining more passive healing, and Agility is to make sure I outspeed Hydreigon on the turn I wake up from Rest, so I may rest once again to heal back up. A crit could ruin this plan, but this idea is specifically for a deathless run. I could sack a few mons to ensure Hydreigon is PP stalled correctly, but I would be sad otherwise, and I don't want to be sad. So instead, we perform one last major stall with Revali, hanging on for dear life by enduring multiple Wise Glasses boosted Dragon Pulses, which we can survive over and over again. 0 crits, fully PP stalled. This is stellar. All that's left are Fire Blast and Focus Blast, which should be a breeze, since Iris noticing that Surf won't affect Mantine due to Water Absorb prevents her from using it instead. Once I notice that Surf is the only thing she's going for, it's time for the Elite Four sweeps to reach a fever pitch. For her one and only appearance, it's Vento's time to shine. She has every move I would ever need to guarantee Iris's team's destruction. We first start mashing that beloved Dragon Dance button. With Roost, this is insanely safe, even if Hydreigon starts to struggle before she reaches +6 attack and speed. Struggle doesn't even happen either way. We can safely max out the stats and work up a sweat with a victory lap. With a wide lens, Fly will always hit. A single one is obviously enough to strike down the vicious 3-headed dragon. The bulky Lapras is up next. Her sheer HP and defense stats are nothing to scoff at. However, +6 attack Fly will make sure no one discovers the Loch Ness Monster. But now, the 4 times flying resistant Aggron is up next. So what better way to bring her down other than via a 4 times ground weakness Bulldoze? Reminder that the Earthquake TM is post-game, but thanks Clay for the Bulldoze TM, you came in clutch. Oh, and Jardigon also comes in and gets taken down in another singular blow. Iris's ace Haxorus comes through next, and this thing is scary, but thanks to Jet's assistance via the Spike Slayer, Focus Sash won't help Haxorus escape from Vento's raw power. And last but not least is Archeops, another flying resist who can't even be hit by Bulldoze. But I only say not least, since they're all the same to Vento. Archeops' low defensive stats are still enough for a Fly to KO him in one shot. If he had lived, Defeatus' activation would make the situation beyond safe. That deals the final blow to Iris' team, winning the run with a Deathless Elite Four and Champion. Well, that was an exciting first full Monotype Nuzlocke, I gotta say. We came in pretty cheap with the setup moves near the end, but it was the safest thing I could come up with. Like I said, I wish to improve at planning, and that includes without relying on those types of strategies, along with better contingency plans for if something is ruined. Of course, it'll take some time before I'm comfortable to attempt that restriction, but this run was a lot of fun nonetheless, and that's all that really matters. With the wide range of secondary types for our flyers giving me a ton of options, that was extremely fun all around. Shoutouts again to my Twitch if you want to see these runs and other content live. If you're at the end of this video seeing this outro, once again, thank you so much, I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you all next time for future Nuzlockes and more.